Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, turning rap into rooms, turning beats into beds. It's the 10th annual Hip Hop for the Homeless coming to Holyoke tomorrow night. And we'll talk with Catalyst, one of the MCs performing, and Hip Hop for the Homeless founder, Joey Batts.
And last week we learned that Merriam-Webster's Word of the Year was authentic. Coming up this hour, we'll hear about some of the runners-up for Word of the Year from our resident word nerd, Greenfield's Emily Brewster. But first...
This Saturday, December 9th, 7 p.m., the second annual Transhealth Holigay Party at the Marigold Theater featuring NPR Tiny Desk Songwriting Contest winner Quinn Christopherson. Christopherson, an indigenous songwriter born, raised, and based in Anchorage, Alaska. He won in 2019 with his song Erase Me, which NPR called a nuanced take on his experience as a transgender man coming to terms with the power of his voice.
I'm tired. People trying to erase me.
He'll be performing this Saturday as a benefit for Trans Health.
Joining us from Trans Health, based here in Western Mass, is their CEO, Dallas Ducar. Dallas was a faculty member at the University of Virginia School of Nursing, Columbia University, and the Mass General Hospital Institute for Health Professions. Is that correct?
That is.
Okay,
it's
good.
a mouthful.
And brings a wealth of expertise to her role in shaping the future of healthcare through Trans Health. As a fellow of the American Academy of Nursing, Dallas shapes health policy related to equity, ethics, and affirming care. Thank you so much for joining us, Dallas.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Great to be back.
And thanks for giving me the opportunity to say Holigay a whole bunch,
Yes.
because it just makes me happy every time.
Because 'tis the season.
Tis the
Totally.
season.
We wanted to get like an underwriter for our coverage this year of making the Yuletide gayer, which is how we have
my
been.
God.
We just had the queer makers market on yesterday, so
Yes.
yeah, there's no shortage of opportunities. But tell us about this Holigay Party happening this Saturday, Dallas.
Yeah, so the Holigay Party is really going to be a time. It's going to be, first of all, our second annual Holigay Party, which is really exciting because we're really able to shape these events in a way that feels authentic to the community, to really bring other community members into the space as well, to really be able to make it accessible too. So having a sliding scale that also allows you to pay what you want, including $0 too. So we really don't want to try to create those same structures that have pushed people out of community gatherings or fundraisers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And instead create a space where we all can celebrate queer joy and don our Holigay sweaters for the second year in a row.
Don we now our gay apparel. It's so fun for me.
It's every day.
For those who aren't familiar with Trans Health or the other times that you've been on the show, Dallas, you are the only U.S. provider for gender-affirming care that has, in the entire country, that specifically focuses on gender-affirming care and are based here. Is that true?
As far as we know, so we are trans-led, which is really important.
Mm-hmm.
We have intentionally tried to bring in trans people across the organization, soup to nuts. So if you are a patient coming in, whether it's the person at the front desk, your nurse, your provider, the CEO, you can see yourself seen in the lived experience of someone else. And you can see a thriving, successful person who's there to help.
Mm-hmm.
And we really believe that that is critical to not othering a community or having some type of savior syndrome in some way, but instead to have this be for us and by us, right? And so we have 100% of our budget dedicated to the care for trans and gender diverse individuals, along with research, advocacy, education, many, many community services. And right now we're clocking in at about 50 employees.
Yeah.
So we've had tremendous growth since the last time I was on this show.
Exponential.
Yeah. That's all over the course of this year, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doubled our team. And we have amazing, amazing folks who are coming to us from across the country who want to really be a part of this great project.
That's incredibly impressive and possibly stressful. Like, that amount of growth is like puberty. Has it been hard to take on that much growth in such a short period of time?
It has. Yes. I mean, we started as a team of 13 people, and we all, were meeting in the same room, trying to get our Bluetooth speaker working during COVID, so some people could come in virtually and not trying to, tilt the computer in just the right way. So we were all doing this with everyone being able to sit at a table. And as the organization has grown, so too have the needs of the organization, so too have our ability to provide amazing care. We have over 3,000 people now who are receiving services from us. And, to put that in perspective, Fenway Health, which is the largest provider in the Northeast, clocks in at about 4,000 or so.
The largest provider for trans health or for health in general?
Largest provider for transgender health care, yes. So we are growing in the services we can provide, and we are also growing pretty strongly in our primary care services and mental health services and other community offerings too. With that growth also requires additional work to make sure that everything is running smoothly, right? And that we're able to get people in at the front desk, and we're able to get people the medications they need, and we're able to serve them when they need the care. And it just means more people there. So that growth also will probably tamper a little bit in the next year as we try to iron things out and just make sure that we are at a nice cruising altitude.
Holidays can be fraught for the queer community in general because of family relations and culture in general. Do you notice a change in the general atmosphere of what you provide around this time of year, and is that also being addressed by this party? Because
mental health is one of the things that Trans Health provides.
Yeah. We do see that around, I think, the holidays and generally around the winter months in general, being in New England, that folks can experience some additional mental health
because the sun decides to shun us, and we wonder why for 3 months. We're like, what did we do?
Seasonal affective disorder is real.
Yes, it's sad.
It's sad. The actual acronym is SAD. I have the SADs.
I do too.
Yes. Yeah. So take that, and then also take unfortunately, the large amount of anti-trans legislation that is out there right now and growing across the United States, and then the rhetoric, and then take also the complications that people have, or sometimes the harm that people experience from trying to connect with family during the holidays. All of that gets amplified, which is why we made the intentional choice to really, really offer substantial psychotherapy and psychiatry, not just a short-term time with psychotherapy, but really being able to do longer-term care, right? And also have community groups that people can come in and get peer support and find their community there, along with many, many other community offerings that will be reopening again in January as well. Because we know that this is vital, and we know that so many people have had families that have just been unsupportive, and we want to be able to be there for them when their families may not be able to be receptive to them, and at the same time be able to create a different type of chosen family.
Coming up, more with Transhealth CEO Dallas Ducar. We'll hear about how this Western Mass-based healthcare group has become an oasis for trans people across the country.
And later in the show, runners-up for Springfield-based Merriam-Webster's Word of the Year, plus hip-hop for the homeless coming to Holyoke tomorrow. I just added tomorrow, so I cut you off.
Okay,
when you're
well,
about
that's fine.
To say,
Whatever. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We're speaking with Dallas Ducar, the CEO of Trans Health, based here in Western Mass, who's having their Holigay Party at the Marigold Theater this Saturday. And you were mentioning a lot of the anti-trans legislation that passed this year, a record number of laws this year in particular. And as we also mentioned, this Trans Health based in Western Mass is the only one that we know of its kind in the whole country. How many people are coming from outside of our area to you looking for this sort of gender-affirming care, all sorts of different strata of healthcare in conjunction with their trans identities? Yeah,
so right now there's so little access to care that folks are just trying to find a place that provides care. Mm-hmm. They may not necessarily be looking for Trans Health, which has all of its budget dedicated to this care. They're just looking for some health care, right? Because we're seeing states ban access to health care and intervene in the choices of families, right? And so we have seen people who have come up to Massachusetts, patients who otherwise could not receive care and receive aid or be able to pay for it themselves to then receive care from us. Mm-hmm. We are seeing this, I've been told, almost on a weekly basis at this point.
Wow.
Right? We are seeing people who are moving to Massachusetts, relocating permanently because, again, their states are overtly hostile to them. Mm-hmm. And what I was recently told is that there were people calling across the United States to try to find access to care, and many other clinics had extraordinarily long wait lists, and we were one of the few that didn't have that, right? So that's something that we are really, really dedicated to, is continuing to maintain easy access. When I make an appointment for my own primary care, unrelated to anything related to gender, it can take up to 6 months, 8 months just to get an appointment. There's a problem with primary care and mental health access in general in this country. And what we are trying to do, especially with the entry to our clinic, especially with just trying to receive that care, is say, we're going to get you in as quickly as possible. And we've seen that happen within 2 weeks or so at this point, which is really exciting.
That's impressive.
Given our new hirings, yes.
Yeah.
So we want to maintain that. That is really impressive for primary care at this point.
I have to say, I'm a little jealous of that because I can't see my PCP or anybody else for that matter until next year.
Well, so many people, when I tell them about the care we provide, it's individual, it's person-centered. They say, God, I wish I had care like that, right? And I think we so often get focused on the hormones or the other transgender-specific things, but so many of the things people need are not related to that. It's just being treated in a way that's compassionate and then getting basic healthcare services.
That's what I love about you and Trans Health and the whole vision behind the thing. You want to reform all healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
Not just trans healthcare.
Yes.
And the model that you're trying to implement here, based in Western Mass, could theoretically revolutionize the way we all do healthcare.
Yes, you'll hear me say time and time again that this is just good healthcare.
Yes.
And there's a movement, and Mass Health is actually adopting this framework, and other insurers are as well, and payment plans around value-based healthcare. And value-based healthcare is providing good value healthcare. So one thing that you want to do is get the right patient at the right time with the right intervention. So you want to be a high value to that patient and also not be so costly that it creates waste in the healthcare system. And what we see at Trans Health is if you lead with affirmation, if you lead with just caring for that person who they are in a primary care setting at the forefront, then that's good value-based care because you create a sense of trust at the outset. And that then leads to the person coming back when they need that care versus deferring care and getting worse off or overutilizing the care when it may be unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Right. We have heard a lot about the laws that have been passed, anti-trans laws throughout the country. But, it's the holiday season and everybody's trying to feel good, maybe. You're having your Holigay Party, a benefit for Trans Health on Saturday, Dallas Ducar. Were there any victories that you see either locally or nationwide for the trans community when it comes to legislation?
Yeah. Of course, I will always go back to the SHIELD law that our state legislature so thoughtfully passed in ensuring that we had constitutional protections for gender-affirming care in this state and that we can ensure that we provide this care regardless of the patient's location. Moving forward in this year, one of the big wins I saw was one that we helped advise the legislative body on and was then passed in the budget, which started with a pilot program that Trans Health started. It was an access program, and specifically it was modeled after the Massachusetts Child Psychiatry Access Program. And this access program, funded by the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation, allowed us to consult providers wherever they were on gender-related needs or on gender-affirming care. So that instead of having to go to a place like Trans Health, that instead you could keep your own provider, and within 48 hours you could actually the provider could get clinical advice on a consultation so that then they can best help a marginalized population right there, and that person doesn't need to then go change their care delivery.
Is Trans Health providing that clinical advice?
So we were doing that for a period of time as a pilot, and it was now passed in the budget. And since being passed in the budget, it will be implemented by HHS, the state level HHS, in the coming year.
So the state will then be training people on how to collaborate with these insurance companies?
The state will have a program to allow for a consultation so that providers can consult with other skilled providers so that patients can get the best care right there.
It seems weird that we would need legislation so that medical providers can talk to each other about the things that they are less knowledgeable about, and yet here we are.
Yeah, healthcare can be so siloed. At times. So siloed. And it's not just related to gender affirming care. We see state-funded programs on child psychiatry. There's MCPAP for moms, another one too that's for maternal health. So, it's great to see that DPH and HHS really stepping up and funding these programs. That's, I think one win on a state level too. We've also seen very recently that there's been more work on gender-neutral bathrooms as well, which has been really exciting. And specifically, we saw that the Board of State Examiners of Plumbers and Gas Fitters unanimously signed support for a change in state plumbing code, which is really great, which then can permit all gender multi-user bathrooms in public facilities. Right?
Nice.
Which is great.
I love that the plumbers are on your side.
The plumbers are on our side.
When it comes to bathrooms, the plumbers are on your side. Who else do you need?
The plumbers are on your side, and the government has said, hey, you should talk to each other.
Yeah.
We need a broad coalition here.
We're speaking with the CEO of Transhealth, based here in Western Mass, Dallas Ducar, who's holding their Holigay Party this Saturday at the Marigold Theater in East Hampton.
Not to move it back to the party, but you've brought in some really amazing people all year, like with
Pony Sweat,
my brain
which was a
froze.
dance party that they had a couple months ago.
And now with Quinn Christopherson, how did you connect with this songwriter to bring them in for your party?
Who won the NPR Tiny Desk concert in 2019? Shameless NPR plug.
Well, I have to give a shout out to our previous fundraising lead, M. Ayers, who was able to connect us to Quinn and make sure that we were able to bring them on. Also, Pony Sweat was another one of their brilliant ideas, too. And in starting a new organization, there are so many things that you have to do, especially a healthcare organization. And the really cool thing about that fundraising vision is that it was and has been a space where we can bring in celebration and reduce barriers and also just try to create a space for art too, right? Like real art and joy and rethink how we think about healthcare, that public art, that our own expressions of our own identity, that this can be a part of health. And we don't have to just think of this in a way that is dictated by whatever insurance says healthcare is going to be, but instead we can say this is good healthcare and this is art. Pony Sweat is one example of that. Quinn's another example. Alok, who we had for the birthday party, was another great person.
Yeah.
Mary Lambert, too.
Yes.
Local hero. So, I think it's really exciting to see the people we brought in, and there's so much more to come. And I think that is what happens when you get a group of creative and committed individuals all together in a startup in a space in the Valley. A lot of ideas come together, and you can rethink this outside of the confines of traditional healthcare that has unfortunately been, in some cases, weaponized against people. And instead create a place that's expansive, joyous, liberatory.
And I think it's going to be joyous on Saturday at the Marigold Theater. I was listening to Quinn Christopherson's album, and it is healthcare. And it's it's beautiful, it's emotional, it's fun.
Did you see their recent music video with Yo-Yo Ma?
No.
Check it out.
I love Yo-Yo Ma.
Oh, it's great.
The CEO of Transhealth Dallas Ducar, their Transhealth Holigay Party this Saturday, December 9th at the Marigold Theater in East Hampton, featuring NPR Tiny Desk Songwriting Contest winner Quinn Christopherson. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy to be here. And come on out, don your sweaters, and join the gay fun, y'all.
Exactly. Sparkly, sparkly.
This is that song with Yo-Yo Ma that we just referenced. Later in the show, Hip Hop for the Homeless coming to Holyoke. We'll talk with MC's Catalyst and Force and founder Joey Batts.
And up next, find out why Elon Musk is unfortunately the center point for so many of the runners-up for Merriam-Webster's Word of the Year. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Emily Brewster, our resident wordster from Merriam-Webster, our fair dictionary in Springfield, returns. We missed you last week when the Word of the Year, Merriam-Webster's Word of the Year, was unveiled. But for those listeners who might have missed it, what was Merriam-Webster's Word of the Year?
It was authentic.
Authentic. Kind of boring, but interesting in the same way that a conversation about AI and fake news all wrapped up in one word that we've used our entire lives.
Well, and about cultural representation and interaction as well.
Yeah, there's a lot packed into that.
Yeah,
even though the word
it's a boring
itself
word
is boring.
until you look at where it's used and how it's applied, and then it becomes not so boring.
Yes.
What I love about the word of the year, even more oftentimes than the word of the year itself, is the runners-up for word of the year. Because while authentic rose to the top of the charts, lookups this year over last year about what the word authentic means, and that's how Merriam-Webster decides the word of the year. It's essentially by popular vote by lookups on their dictionary website. What other words were runners-up for word of the year?
Well, runners-up is a little bit of a misnomer because some of these would not qualify for word of the year no matter what, because they just had a single big spike. So the word of the year is always a word that has significance throughout the year. And there is one very unusual, I think it's unprecedented, really, even word in our list, because this word was not entered in our dictionary last year. But once it was entered, it was just, for the rest of the year, it was looked up a great deal. Do you have any guess?
Is it one of the Simpsons words?
No.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Riz.
Oh, the children's.
I'm glad the children are still using the dictionary.
No, it's not the children's who needed the dictionary.
The children are using it, and their parents are like, what are my kids talking about?
Is
Is he one of the founders of Wu-Tang Clan?
I'll let you try my Wu-Tang style. Bring them ruckus!
I think that's right. I think the parents want to know if their kid is using a word that is, if there's something really wrong with it or something.
For the olds like us, what does Riz mean, Emily Brewster?
Well, it functions as both a noun and a verb. And as a noun, it means romantic appeal or charm. And as a verb, it means to charm or seduce. Now, some people have said that this word is, it's plausible that it's short for charisma, or that it's an alteration of the word charisma. But the person who is credited with coining this word, a YouTuber named Kai Cenat, has said that no, it's not short for charisma. But he has also given no other source for the word. He says that he and his friends were just talking and hanging out, and this word came up, and they started using it, and now we're all using it.
But that person has no claim on this word anymore. It's left his mouth and into the ether, and it's the people's word now. We define what it means, I guess, right?
Oh, that's very true. Yeah. Yes, its meaning is out of his control, but where it came from is not.
I
right? If he says it's not short for charisma, then okay.
Do you put that in the dictionary? Do you say a lot of people think it has to do with charisma, but this guy doesn't?
But also, it's a word that popped up between him and his friends. What if his friends say that it's from charisma?
Yeah, we're going to ask the friends.
This word came from committee.
Right. Well, our etymology says perhaps short for charisma.
Okay.
Because nothing else has been suggested.
So that was not in the dictionary last year, but it was entered this year as part of your big word dump earlier in the fall?
Word dump, Monty?
Well, how many words was it?
690.
Yeah.
I
more than the last 2 years.
Not to think of it as a dump.
What should we call it? An onslaught? That sounds violent.
I mean,
a dictionary enhancement.
Okay.
And I know that there's been a movement to
burgeoning.
use less violent language, but also, I really like how descriptive violent language is. So
it can be, for sure.
I'm for onslaught. Words do mean things, but it's just nice to use those sometimes.
I like dump.
I like the brutality of it.
What are some other interesting words that were contenders for Word of the Year, or at least tripped the radar of Merriam-Webster.com for increased lookups in the year 2023?
Yes, the next one is a true runner-up. This is deep fake.
Oh, wow. Ooh. Yeah, this ties into authentic, which is the word of the year for sure. If people aren't familiar with what deep fake is, how does Merriam-Webster define it?
An image or recording that has been convincingly altered and manipulated to misrepresent someone as doing or saying something that was not actually done or said.
It is terrifying for me to watch these things unless it's being used to enhance young Luke Skywalker in, say, The Mandalorian or whatever Star Wars television show is being adapted.
I want to tell you about someone you remind me of a great deal.
Other than that, it is a little bit troublesome. And it reminds me of when we went to our corn maze.
Yes.
At Mike's Maze in Sunderland, where the whole theme was about AI and artificial intelligence and what to expect in the future and should we fear it or not.
Right. Well, this word had two spikes in the data that trace to specific incidents. One was when lawyers for Elon Musk argued that he shouldn't have to give legal testimony about public statements he made because there are deep fakes about him. So maybe those statements were actually deep fakes.
Like it wasn't him. It was deep fake Elon Musk.
And it was used as a reason for him to not have to testify.
Huh.
The judge rejected this argument.
Yes.
Rightly, it seems.
Also, I feel like
Yes.
it would be hard to do deep fakes of him because he moves his mouth so little, trying to make it look like he's saying something.
Maybe that makes
difficult.
it easier for the deep fake people.
Perhaps, because he's so not expressive.
I saw that Staged, which is not the same as deepfake, was trending yesterday on Elon Musk's platform, which I will always call Twitter, because there was a picture of the Bidens decorating their Christmas tree, and it had Joe Biden up on a ladder. And people were like, he can't get up on the ladder. This must be staged. Or maybe it was deepfake Joe Biden. Or maybe it was just real.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there another incident you said that might have triggered
Yes.
the lookups of deepfake?
Yes. In May, a fan made an ad for Tesla that featured a likeness of Ryan Reynolds.
All of this surrounds Elon Musk, which I don't like at all.
Yeah. Well, and then also the presidential campaign of Ron DeSantis used apparently fake images of Donald Trump, and that was around the same time as the Tesla ad.
The future looks so scary. I don't want to look at things and think and wonder if this is real or deep fake. There's a dude who looks just like Keanu Reeves who's on social media and does all these things. It's not Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is on no social media.
I feel like I should be way less apathetic about this than I am, but growing up reading a lot of science fiction where corporations own everything, I just feel like, yeah, this is what is supposed to be happening right about now.
Soon Taco Bell will be the only restaurant we have.
I would like you to accompany me to Taco Bell.
Oh, that's a very different future.
Okay.
All right, a happier word, the word coronation.
A happier word for one guy.
Yes. Well, and it's not.
He's
It's
been
not
waiting
such
for
a-
that word to apply to him for years.
Yeah, right?
Right. He waited a long, long time. And this doesn't have to do with AI, right? Like, I think he actually was crowned.
I think so
Yeah.
too. Yes.
Eventually.
He is the authentic king of England at this point.
Yes.
For
Yep.
another 10 minutes probably before he sadly passes away too.
It was very interesting to see the people who had never had a king before just be like, I don't know what happens now. This is all strange.
Right. We thought the king was Michael Jackson or Elvis.
And then they should have gone through this crisis before. They knew what to do.
So that's an obvious one. Would that one have potentially become the word of the year because of the coronation of King Charles now?
No, and that again because it's just tied to a specific incident.
Right. And because Merriam-Webster's the American Dictionary of English, not the Oxford English. Maybe it would have been Oxford Englishes. They haven't announced their word of the year yet, have they?
No, they did. They did. Their word was Riz.
Oh, their word was Riz. Interesting. That's great. They do it differently than you because they are not basing it on lookups. They basically just have their editorial board decide, right?
Actually, I think that this year they came up with a short list and then they let people vote.
Oh, okay.
So it's still kind of the same.
I don't know how they came up with their short list.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so there's more editorial input on the Oxford English Dictionary's word of the year. That's why I like the Merriam-Webster version of it. It seems more democratic.
I mean, this is a topic for a later sit down with Emily Brewster, because now I'm curious what was on the short list for Oxford.
I know, I am too. Actually, I haven't looked at it that much, but apparently their editors chose a short list that they felt like was compiling words that reflected the mood, ethos, or preoccupations of the year.
Oh.
And Riz is what they came up with. Huh.
Yeah. Last year, their word was goblin mode.
They do pick fun words.
Are they only picking words from TikTok?
No comment.
I have never used the words goblin mode or Riz in real conversation, and that may just be a product of my age. But
I mean, part of it is I've used goblin mode a little bit, but I think that's just because I hang out with more gamers.
yeah.
All right, another one. This one is also not very happy, and this again was a true contender. Dystopian.
Well, there you have it. It ties everything all together with a nice little dystopian bow.
Again, saved by sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, this is the future that I was foretold in all of those novels that I read as a child.
Luckily, it's just the beginning of that future.
Yeah, it's better to get in at the beginning than to deal with the consequences, honestly, if any of that fiction is to be believed. And frankly, maybe it is.
Yeah. How does Merriam-Webster define dystopian, one of the runners-up for its 2023 Word of the Year?
I have to look it up. I'm sorry.
She doesn't have the dictionary memorized.
Of relating to or being an imagined world or society in which people lead dehumanized, fearful lives.
Yep. I mean,
If what people are looking up is the canary in the coal mine, we're not looking good for going into the next year.
The first time that this word spiked a bit was in early April. The Republican National Committee released an ad that was built entirely with AI-generated imagery. The ad portrayed what was described by many people as a dystopian future that the RNC asserts will result with the re-election of Joe Biden. So you re-elect the person who's president now, and this is the future that is sure to come. It doesn't really seem logical to me because he is the current president.
Yeah.
So, and then that was followed by Earth Day. Earth Day was a bit grim. Record high temperatures had just preceded the celebration of Earth Day. So that, the word dystopian was invoked there too. And then also with the Canadian wildfires, stories about AI also.
the part of the year where we looked at Australia and said, hold my beer.
Also, video games and movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Always a key source of tales of dystopia.
Especially in the past couple of years.
Let's do something fun because
Honestly,
I'm
one
so
of my
bummed.
favorite genres. I like reading about how much worse it could be.
I also like those genres for fiction, but this is just creeping too much into the world of reality.
Could be worse.
Okay, here's the next one. And this one had a huge spike. But again, it was just tied to one event. It is EGOT.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember who got an EGOT?
This year?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who
No.
got an EGOT in 2023?
I don't know.
Not John Legend.
No. He's close, though.
I think he is an EGOT. I just don't think he got it in 2023. Tell us.
Well, for people who do not know, an EGOT is the achieving of an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony, all of those awards. And the person who got an EGOT this year is Viola Davis.
Oh, well deserved.
Right.
I planted a seed and watched it braid over. I planted myself inside you and waited to bloom. It didn't take me no 18 years to realize the soil was hard and rocky and it wasn't never gonna bloom.
Yeah. She won a Grammy for her reading of the audiobook version of her memoir.
That's nice. I like when you know somebody's so close to being an EGOT too, and you're like really rooting for them. Like, do something that's in the recording industry so you can win a Grammy.
Or go do something on stage so you can have a Tony.
Yeah, do it. That's got to be the hardest one to get, the Tony.
The Tony's got to be the hardest one.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like Rachel.
Get that one out early.
Rachel Maddow is going to be close to having an ego. Once she works with Steven Spielberg and all that with the movie versions of her podcast, but she'd have to do like a one-woman show on Broadway to get the tea.
Yeah, I don't know if she'd be interested.
I also don't know.
I'm pretty sure she would not.
I'm pretty sure too. Well, that's good. I love Viola Davis, and John Legend is an EGOT. He was the first black man to become an EGOT. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, X.
No.
I know.
We already talked
Elon
about
Musk
him a
cannot
bunch.
be part of everything in the world. I know he's rich, but come on. X?
Yeah.
People looked up X?
Yeah, people looked up X. They did. 885% more than in 2022.
How many definitions of X are there?
Many. I mean, X is a very interesting letter, actually,
Right.
because it has, it's more than just it signifies more than just a sound.
Right.
More than just, a graphic representation.
Right.
It is, of course, the 24th letter of the alphabet, a graphic representation of this letter, a speech counterpart of orthographic X. It also means 10 in Roman numerals.
Mm-hmm.
One designated X, especially as the 24th in order or class, or the first in an order or class that includes X, Y, and sometimes Z. It's also used to refer to an unknown quantity, and also used to refer to something that is shaped like or marked with the letter X. And they've got like X's and O's.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, it doesn't say Twitter anywhere in your dictionary, right?
No.
Under X?
No. You can X something out, but you don't X a message, for example, and we do still tweet things.
That's true. Is Grimes listed under there because she's Elon Musk X? No? Different type of X?
Different X.
I see.
Different X. Yes.
But is it? Maybe it's not.
We're going to call her Twitter now.
That's funny.
Well, Emily Brewster, we're going to do more runners-up as the year comes to a close about some of the words of the year runners-up from your dictionary. What's your favorite of the runners-up? Have you listed it already? We could save it.
No, I'm saving it till next week.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
A teaser, as they say in the biz.
Up next, Hip Hop for the Homeless comes to Holyoke Thursday night. We'll talk with MC's Catalyst Force and founder Joey Batts.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
I was taught to protect your neck, keep cautious in the clutch.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Khalees Smith.
And you are listening to the music of Catalyst, who joins us in the studio and who will be part of Hip Hop for the Homeless, which is happening tomorrow night at Gateway City Arts in Holyoke. We're also joined by Force, soon to be City Councilor at Large in Northampton, but current City Councilor Garrick Perry, and the founder of Hip Hop for the Homeless, Joey Batts. Welcome.
Hello.
What's goody? How's everybody doing out there?
Good, and you?
Great. It's great to be back.
Yeah.
I missed this place.
Force was on the very first episode of the Fabulous 413 when we were at the Jizza concert at Hawks and Reed.
Oh.
Were you were at the show, and I saw you, but you weren't actually on the radio show.
That's fine.
Yes, yeah.
Force has actually been on a bunch, because
Yeah.
Force was on with me talking about Black nerd stuff later
Yeah.
during Juneteenth week, too.
And you were on for Pride in Northampton.
And the
You've been on a
Jaguar
lot of
Live.
times. So you're like a regular
I'm
now.
putting numbers on the
guys are
board, as
regular.
they say.
We've
Is
been
this your
around a
pitch?
little bit, it sounds like.
Okay,
Yeah.
we should talk about this actual event instead
Yes,
of
let's
how
do
many
that.
times Force has been on the show.
Yes, you're right. So, Hip Hop for the Homeless celebrating 10 years. Joey Batts, tell us where you're from, where this idea came from.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thank you so much for letting me come here. I think this is so dope. Shout out to both Force and Catalyst for kind of just like continuing our friendship through hip hop and allowing us to have Hip Hop for the Homeless in the 413. I'm from New York, but lo and behold, I've been in Connecticut for the last 25 years. Hip Hop for the Homeless is a multi-city tour that's been touring and happening in Connecticut for the last 9. We're celebrating our 10th year this December. We've already had 3 shows, and a couple of months ago, I reached out to my guys and I was like, "Yo, I'm trying to like expand this thing. I think it would be super dope to have it up by you." We got our wheels turning. We made some connections, and we've actually made it happen. So tomorrow night will be the first Hip Hop for the Homeless performance in any city outside of Connecticut, and I'm super pumped that it's happening in the 413, man.
And it's the only one for this run that is happening outside of Connecticut, too. So
Absolutely.
doubly special.
Doubly special, yeah. I'm super pumped. We have 10 shows this year, and we only have 1 show out of state, and it's this one that's happening.
That's wicked cool.
Tell us what organizations you're working with and how what you're doing is supporting the homeless communities that you're working with.
Yeah, so the model like lends itself to we throw a show, all independent artists, independent DJ, all these rappers, all these very, very talented people kind of donate their talents and donate their time, as well as the venues donating their space. No one takes anything at the end of the night. All the money raised, all the clothing collected, all the food collected, all goes to a specific either food pantry or a specific homeless shelter in that specific town. So some of the ones we've worked with are Hands on Hartford in Hartford, the Simsbury Food Pantry in Simsbury, the Friendship Center in New Britain. But I think you could kind of speak to the one we're pairing with
absolutely.
tomorrow.
Joey Batts hands the microphone to Catalyst, who's performing.
Yeah, as far as on a local scale, for the show tomorrow, all of the proceeds, donations, and things like that are going to go to a family place or the family place. I'm not sure the official title, but they work with families who have suffered domestic violence and need a place to stay in the transitionary period throughout all those things. So I just reached out to a friend of mine, Earl, who is also an MC in the area, and he just let me know that this was the place that probably needed it the most, and they were on the fringe of not being able to support and help the people that they needed to. So I made the decision based on that.
That's great.
Is Earl on the bill for the show
It
on
is.
Thursday?
Yep. It's on the flyer to let you know where all that stuff is going and all that good stuff. And,
No, Earl, your friend who told you where to send the money.
Earl is not. No. I don't know if Earl is still actively behind the mic anymore, but
that's all right.
We'll find out.
So who is going to be at this show tomorrow at Gateway besides you, Catalyst?
Besides me, yes, I will be performing tomorrow. It's going to be hosted by the lovely Joey Batts that got here with me. But we're also going to have my good friend DRC or the Rebel Cause. We're going to have Crown Quan, Manny May, and Murph, who's also a mutual friend of Joey and ours. So what's really cool about it is at the Divine Theater recently, I started a bunch of showcases to kind of help younger artists get their feet under them about performing and how to do it and get the technique right and stuff like that. So a lot of the acts you're going to see tomorrow night are actually acts that have flourished because of that. So it's a passion point of mine in multiple facets. So I'm very excited about tomorrow.
Dope.
And are all these MCs from the 413, or where are they coming from?
No, so Manny May is from the 413, DRC is from the 413, Crown Quan, I believe, is from Springfield. I actually haven't formally met him. We've done some politicking back and forth. But then Murph is from Connecticut, I believe the Hartford area.
Yeah, he's a Hartford cat, so this is dope. I'm like bringing one of my friends up with me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like keeping it connected.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Has teaching MCs to be on stage changed anything about the way that you were on stage, Catalyst?
A ton, actually, a ton. It's given me a lot of perspective, seeing, how I used to be back in the day watching video and old footage and stuff like that. It's just taught me, I'm glad I got Force in my corner because he's been that kind of person in my corner, kind of, guiding me and directing me. But, it just lets me know I could have had more and I wish I would have listened more. And I can see that in some of the younger artists as well. I can also see the talent and, the potential behind some of these kids, and they just need that extra guidance and that extra person behind them. And I'm glad I get to be that person. Yeah.
Word.
It's Hip Hop for the Homeless. It's happening tomorrow at Gateway City Arts in Holyoke, and we're joined by one of the MCs performing, Catalyst, as well as Joey Batts, the founder of Hip Hop for the Homeless, and his good buddy Force, who happens to be a city councilor in Northampton, soon to be city councilor at large in Northampton, Garrick Perry. I know that you're not intimately involved with the inner workings of the city of Holyoke, but homelessness and houselessness is an issue that is affecting every community. Talk about some of the things that have gone on with you in Northampton in response to houselessness as of late.
Well, that's a good question, Monty, but before I move on to that, I do want to talk about why I'm excited about this event.
Like a good politician, you answer the question you want to answer, not the question that was asked.
Get him! Get him!
So for me,
get him!
Really, I'm excited for this because this is a perfect merging of my worlds. I've known Joey Batts for a number of years. We met through my band, The Alchemistics. Joey Batts had a band, Joey Batts and Them. You may have seen his face throughout Northampton. He is your best friend, if you remember that sticker campaign.
Oh yeah.
And then also, my brother Catalyst. It's been great watching him grow into a mentor for folks. Also, I used to work at Gateway City Arts.
Right.
I spent a number of years there, and so I think it's really important to really give back to cities, inner cities, and what Gateway City Arts for me provided was a space that had potential. It was something that could give back to the local community, and that's one of the reasons why we chose to do this event at Gateway City Arts. I was telling Joey today that on this day, December 6th, 8 years ago, we had an event for our founder, Dempsey Zulo, at Gateway City Arts. It was my first time there, so I feel like it's come full circle. Things like that happen. But in terms of the houseless population in Northampton, the city itself is doing a lot to try and handle that. We are in the process of opening up a resiliency hub. I'm very excited about that. We just purchased the place from Eric Sewer.
It's at the end of Main Street, sort of right near City Hall.
Right near City Hall.
Used to be a church.
And I had the pleasure of taking a walkthrough of that in last February just to see what it looks like. There's a stage there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space inside.
Amazing. Stained glass ceilings. And so they're doing that. Northampton is also started the Division of Community Care, and that is up and running. Eventually, it will be in the Resiliency Hub. Right now, it's where what was the Chowder House? The
Smithsonian
House. Yep. So it's placed there, and we're looking at ways to really interact with our houseless population. I'm actually going to be doing some work with MANA next year, doing a education program, like a hip-hop writing program with some of the folks who utilize that service. This is the first time I've talked about this publicly.
Man, it's a soup kitchen in downtown Northampton, an excellent organization, making sure people have enough to eat. Yeah.
And so I'm excited to continue my work again as becoming counselor at large to do this work of bridging entertainment and community building in our areas.
Joey, beyond looking for organizations that are in the cities that you planned this event, has anything changed about how you run it being here in Holyoke as opposed to when you run it in Connecticut?
Not necessarily. I think the biggest thing is figuring out that, like, after 10 years, it's kind of wild to do anything for 10 years, right? So,
yes.
So like to do something like this for 10 years, to keep it from being stale, right? To see exponential growth, to get people excited about it. I think we all have to change, right? As sentient beings, when we create things, as artists, as thinkers, as creators, I think everything needs to change and adapt. So I think of Hip Hop for the Homeless just kind of, pulsing and like moving out, its radius further and further and further. And I think hopefully this is the first of many kind of collaborations where I would love to see multiple dates in Massachusetts next year. I would love to be able to have nonprofit status myself as Hip Hop for the Homeless, just so I could pass the reins. And obviously I'm going to try to come to any event I can, but if I was able to do that, then I would love to see other artists kind of pick up the mantle like Catalyst has. And to me, that is the thing that makes what we're doing, that gives it even more longevity. Because we can't always have the same artists on every show, right? We can't have the same artists involved. We're getting older just like the cause is getting older. So we have to keep reinventing the wheel in getting newer artists and fresher artists. And hip-hop is moving so fast, right? Just like the numbers of homelessness are raising more and more. So I think we have to keep up with that in regards to just, getting our finger on the pulse and having more and more people come out, whether they're an artist themselves or whether they're just someone who wants to partake in a dope, show for a dope cause.
Hip Hop for the Homeless happening in Holyoke tomorrow at Gateway City Arts. The 10th year, you did a week's worth of shows, 3 shows last week. You got 3 shows this week. You got 4 shows next week.
Yep.
You raised over $2,300.
I'm tired, bud.
You're a teacher too.
I'm tired, bud.
You're a teacher, right? That's what you do most of the time?
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's awesome.
That's what I do. And my principal won't give me the days off.
Oh, come on, principal. We'll write you a note. You raised $2,300 last week in the shows. Do you have any idea how much you've raised over the 10 years of doing this?
So when we look at our growth from the beginning to the end of year 9,
talk right into that microphone. Sorry, I was just trying to signal you.
No, you're fine. When we think about our growth for the first 9 years, it's gone up each and every year, and we've just eclipsed $36,000.
That's incredible.
Over 9 years. So it's a rough average of about $4,000 a year. But we're hoping to beat last year's total, which was right around $6,500. So
nice.
That's the goal. That's the goal, to continue that growth.
And going back to Force, who is a city councilor in Northampton, I mentioned this briefly, and we only have 1 minute left. Where are we at with Ninja Turtle manhole covers in the city of Northampton to celebrate that iconic intellectual property that has origins? And why is there a town in New Hampshire that is trying to steal Northampton's thunder with Ninja Turtle manhole covers?
Well, they are not trying to steal the thunder. The germ of the idea was started in Dover, New Hampshire.
Okay, so we stole their thunder.
Well, no, we can be sister
thunder.
cities. Yes.
Okay.
So the first office, Mirage Studios, was in Northampton, and we're still working on that project. The city itself is helping to guide this to its finish line. We've got some proposals out for folks. We've been talking to a number of people to create these manhole covers and whatnot. So just stay tuned. We've got some more community building events on the horizon. But before I go, I do have one question for Joey Batts.
Oh, man.
And that
you have 30
is,
seconds to answer.
And the question is,
man.
if you are not able to attend the show, which you should, are you able to donate through any other means?
That's a great question. Please check out Hip Hop for the Homeless on Facebook. Please check out at Hip Hop for the Homeless or at Rap Joey Batts. You can find all the links for the GoFundMe link. You can find all the ways that you could get involved. And we hope to see you there tomorrow night. But if not, we'll circle the block.
Oh,
And I'll be rapping.
Quickly on top of that. So it's a food drive and a clothing drive.
Correct.
On top of that. What type of food, what type of clothing are you looking for?
Yeah.
Canned goods is good. New clothing is specifically for children would be awesome. So any stuff like that, we'll take cash donations as well. But anything you got, we'd like it.
Catalyst, who's performing as part of Hip Hop for the Homeless tomorrow night. Are you guesting as well, Forrest?
I'll be there. If
Oh,
I'm
all
there,
right.
I'm gonna
Cool.
try and drop some bars.
Murph, Manny May, Crown Quan, and DRC tomorrow night, Gateway City Arts in Holyoke. Hip Hop for the Homeless, founded by Joey Batts. Thank you all for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Tomorrow on the Fabulous 413, we'll speak with Randy Cohen, the VP of Research from Americans for the Art, about findings on the art economy of Springfield and the nation as a whole and what that means for artists in our area.
We'll hear about the Love for Humanity concert and teach-in happening in Northampton, plus our weekly chat with Congressman Jim McGovern. Got a question for the representative? Email us at thefab413@nepm.org.
Special thanks to Spouse, Happy Valley Guitar Orchestra, Quinn Christopherson, Patty Goria, Yo-Yo Ma, The Beatles, Grimes, Catalyst, and the folks behind the Jeffersons theme song, Farewell, Norman Lear. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll see you tomorrow.